Hey, what's going on, people? So, I had some time to kill today, and I went to my local theater and decided to watch a movie. I wanted to see Hitman, but that theater was not showing it for some reason, so instead I watched The Watchers. And I'm not totally disappointed. Okay, so quick thing before we get started. I was watching the Elizabeth Holmes documentary or not documentary, but the Elizabeth Holmes show on Hulu the other day. And I was, talking to my friend about how I thought Dakota Fanning did a great job. And he corrected me and said that was Amanda Seyfried. And then I was ready to just come on here and talk about the job Amanda Seyfried did in The Watchers to find out that's Dakota Fanning. Like, I always get those two mixed up, and that can't just be me, right? All right, anyway. The Watchers, brought to us by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, Ishana Night Shyamalan. I believe this is her directorial debut, and did a very decent job. Clearly takes a lot of cues from her father. This was like one of his better movies. But I could also, it's funny, a lot of the things I have complaints about with his movies I have here, but just a lot of nitpicks. The one big thing I'll get into, I don't blame her because this is based on a story, on a book. So anyway, we'll get to that. But in this, Dakota Fanning's character plays a woman who she works at, like, broad strokes. She works at a pet store, and one day she has to deliver a pet to a client, and it requires her to drive through this forest that's not on any map in Ireland. She's an American living in Ireland. And as she goes through this forest, she loses cell signal, her car breaks down, she gets out, she goes in the woods and gets lost in the woods, and certainly something creepy is going on because she turns around where she knows she came from and her car isn't there, and she starts to hear things in the woods and runs into this woman who basically gives her the Terminator line, "Come with me if you want to live." And they retreat to this woman's house bunker type deal where two other people are, and they explain that they have been there for a while because the forest is haunted by creatures called Watchers who will kill them if they try to leave. So we normally do, we start sour and try to end sweet, but I'm going to switch that up today just because the sour I have is like tied to what I thought was so good about the movie, and just it would kind of jump ahead to what I want to talk. I'm just going to talk. Like, I'm word vomiting now, so let's just get this over with, guys. What I really liked about it, first off, the atmosphere. This movie is just like A Quiet Place or Shutter Island or Jaws. Those movies where the actual thing that's scary isn't like a boogeyman, like a Michael Myers or a Freddy Krueger or a Jason. It's the situation you're in is terrifying, like in A Quiet Place. If you make a sound, you might die. So like it's scary in those moments when someone is like walking through something that could be loud. In Jaws, it's like, we have to keep watching the water because there's a chance that our life will end like that. And in this movie, these Watchers, there are certain rules they have to follow, even though you don't actually see them. Like, you have to make sure you're back inside that house before the sun goes down. You can't leave the forest. Don't ever go to the tunnels that the Watchers live in, like these underground like tunnels. Don't ever go near them. And also, their house has a mirror. It's like a one-way mirror, or maybe it's a two-way mirror. It's I'm not gonna look it up. I don't remember. It's the one that's like in police stations where they can see they see a mirror, but on the other side, like the Watchers are looking in at them. So it's one of those things, and you always have to face it. You can never turn your back to their mirror. So there are certain rules, and it's just intriguing watching these people follow them, and then you hear the Watchers. The sound in this movie is amazing too. Like, without showing you what they are, you are scared of them. Like, you hear them, they're there, and they're terrifying, and they have a great opening sequence where they show someone trying to run away, and you can guess what happens. So yeah, the atmosphere is great, and that's caused by the Watchers themselves. Like, the majority of this movie does take place in this forest, and just trying and seeing them navigate the forest, seeing them survive, like they have to go hunting every day, they have to grab herbs for medicine, Like just and the only form of entertainment they have is like a DVD of like some reality TV show. It's fun watching these people live this life, not knowing how long they're going to be there. Dakota Fanning's the newest person there, and the second newest person has been there. She believes 5 months. Another person's been there 8 months. Another person's been there years. And Dakota Fanning is, she's understandably like, she's her character is built up as rebellious and not really someone who follows rules. So but understandably, like most of us would be, she's not really just here to be like, I'm not going to stay here forever with an invisible enemy or an invisible threat that I have known nothing about and just not try to leave. But the fear in the eyes of the others is what really worked for me, because it's like, I know that I agree with you, Dakota Fanning, but I also see that they're taking this very seriously. So maybe we should, pump the brakes. Speaking of the characters, that is probably one of the bigger weaknesses of the movie. Wasn't the one I was thinking of, but there are 4 of them. Dakota Fanning, and there's the older woman named Madeline, I think, probably get the most screen time. And I mean, no one does anything bad. Like, the movie's watchable, but none of them are memorable. None of them have a moment that will make me remember them. And none of them are particularly interesting. They're just kind of the characters that are in this situation. It's the tension that builds throughout the movie. As you're learning more and more about this, as you get to see these tunnels, as this threat that's clearly there but invisible is like basically tormenting these people, the movie, like, that's when it shines the most. Remember, I'm not the biggest horror fan, but I love suspense and I love thriller, and this movie is full of it. So now we're going to get to the part that I didn't really like that much. About maybe 45 minutes in, we start seeing silhouettes of the Watchers. And then about maybe an hour in the movie, there's this whole mystery about what they are and what they want, why they're watching you. And they kind of just tell you. So, like, they got, like, the mystery's over. You feel like it's done, And at that point, it feels like the movie should be over. Because, you solve the mystery, you've hit what appears to be the climax, and, the movie should just end, roll credits. And at that point, it was maybe, I think I looked at my watch. I think it was like an hour and maybe 6 minutes in. And I know it would have been short, but honestly, the movie should have ended there. Because 10 minutes later, I'm watching it, and I'm like, this movie's not ending. Something else is happening. And the something else that happens, the multiple something else that happen, are way too predictable. It kind of just ruined the movie for me. I'm like, okay, well, obviously this happened. And then when that happens, I'm like, well, obviously this is going to happen. And then obviously this is going to happen. And it's like that last 30 minutes... Again, I can't blame the director or maybe even the scriptwriter, because I know it's based on a book, but it's just, the ending just ruined it for me. Ruined is a strong word, because I still do like this movie, but it took a strong movie and severely diluted it. And I know, like, to be feature length, you have to hit a certain amount of minutes, but honestly, I was happy with the movie as it was after that first, hour and 6 minutes, like I said. The remainder of it kind of got to a point where it got a little too, I don't want to say cheesy, but it was kind of cheesy. It got to a point where it's like, I'm like sitting there like, okay, why is this happening right now? And then all the mystery and all the suspense really kind of went out the window for, like I said, this predictable thing that happens. These predictable things that happen. Like, anyone who's watching this movie is going to see it from a mile away. Because, like, as I said, after you think the movie ends, 10 minutes later, something is happening, and you're like, okay, well, clearly this movie is going in this direction, because the credits aren't rolling as they should have been, and I can see what's happening. So that's the biggest criticism here. Again, not really on anybody. Endings are hard, so I'm not sure I can really get on them for that, because, a lot of writers more talented than me, certainly, have trouble with that. But yeah, man, outside of that, The Watchers actually, it was a great time. I mean, if you go see this, I do think you will really enjoy that first hour and 6 minutes, especially if you're a horror suspense type fan like me and you like those movies that I mentioned in the beginning. I do still think it's worth watching, even though the ending kind of leaves more to be desired. And the actual final shot I thought was really dumb, but that's just a personal thing for me. Anyway, I do think it's worth a watch. You don't necessarily have to go to the theaters to see this. You can wait till it comes on streaming and, let it play and, watch it with your friends. And I think you'll have a decent time with it. I'd give this one about a 3.5 out of 5, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm out. Oh, wait, no, I'm not out. Please. We just dropped our Plus Ultra interview. Please go watch that. We really, really, really loved what we talked about with those guys. And they do a lot of good stuff, especially if you're in the DC metropolitan area. Please go check them out. All right, now I'm done. And until next time, I'm out.